Hello my writerly friends, welcome back to the Editing Basics series. We have already talked about letting your manuscript rest. We talked about developmental editing where we addressed character, structure, and plot. Now we are moving on to low-level edits. We're moving out of the big picture, high-level editing where we're looking for things like plot, structure, character development, those big story elements. And now we're moving into line editing. Just like it sounds, we're working at the line level. I like to think of it as being at the paragraph level because we are addressing paragraph structure as well as sentence structure. With line editing, we are forgetting the story and we are focusing on the language, on the prose. During this stage of the editing process, we want to become poets. We're dealing with the flow of the words. Precision of language, we want each word to have a purpose and we want it to flow beautifully. 90% of the time, line editing is going to involve cutting. Go ahead and steel yourselves. When I am line editing for my work or for clients, most of the time I'm going to cut 10 to 20% of the work, depending, of course, on how many edits it's already been through. During this stage, we are cutting out all those unnecessary words, the words that find their way into the manuscript during the drafting stage. We all do it, and that's okay. That's what we're supposed to do while we're drafting, and we're not worrying about that during developmental editing. But once we move into line editing, we have to look at things like the crutch words that we all have, and it really helps to identify words that you use too often so that when you spot them, a little trigger goes off and you think, hey, I need to figure out whether I really need this. The simplest thing to do when you're cutting is to remove a word or a sentence, read it back, ask yourself, has it lost anything? And be honest. If the answer is no, then you don't need it. Leave it in the scrap pile. Try to be as objective as you can while you're doing this. I know we all have those little things that wind up in our work that are pretty gratuitous. We love them, but we don't need them. If they're not making the work stronger, then they're only distracting from the rest of your prose. Line editing is very, very time consuming. If you're speeding through it, you're not doing it right. It is probably going to take the longest of all your edits, especially since one pass is rarely enough. This is a great time to start reading your work out loud, really listening to the sound of the words. Another big thing to look for in this stage is ambiguity. Do all your pronouns have clear objects? Is it obvious what all your dependent clauses are referring to? Again, focus on approaching this as the reader. Obviously you know, but will the reader know? Again, this is going to take a while. Take your time in this phase. Don't rush through it. Line editing is a huge, huge part of really honing the voice of the piece, which is something that all agents, publishers, and readers are going to be very attracted to. That's the basics for line editing. Of course, that is just scratching the surface. So I will plan to put out some more videos going more in depth into specific things that you can look for while you're line editing. If you're looking for a little more guidance, I will put a link to my editing course. It's on sale right now for $20 off. It includes videos and worksheets to take you all the way through the editing process. It's far more in depth than what I'm doing here. But I just wanted to put this series together to provide a very basic outline of how to go about editing if you are not sure where to start. And again, if you take one thing away from this series, remember high-level edits first. That is key. We have one more video in this series, copy editing and proofreading. Look for that soon. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I love hearing from you, and I'll see you next time.